A disturbing report on Minneapolis Public Schools where high school students are required to take ethnic studies courses that label capitalism and Western culture as tools of colonialism and white supremacy. Course materials obtained by Defending Education raised concerns over what's being taught in these classrooms and why. Joining us now to discuss is Kendall Tietz, investigative reporter for Defending Education. Good morning, Kendall. Great to see you.
Thank you for having me.
So, as I understand, all high school students enrolled in public schools in Minneapolis are required to take one of a number, really, of these ethnic studies courses. Explain to us what you discovered in these course materials.
Yeah, so what we found is that Minneapolis Public Schools ethnic studies curriculum includes multiple course options featuring content like critical race theory, Marxism, Black Lives Matter, colonialism, intersectionality, social justice activism, and even what they call quote-unquote pillars of white supremacy. The course also includes texts by Ibram X. Kendi and Howard Zinn with the stated goal of reframing the curriculum and around counter narratives of communities of color.
Yeah, so let's talk about, just very quickly, let's talk about one of these, because you mentioned this, you mentioned one of these course teachings. I think we have the title right here in one section. It is titled Power Struggles and Resistance. The class, as you said, focuses, here it is right here, focuses on the pillars of white supremacy. It even includes this diagram, and you can see right here it equates capitalism with slavery and puts it on the same level as war and genocide. How did this curriculum even get approved, Kendall, and who was behind the development of it?
Yeah, so it's not entirely clear, but the school district's Ethnic Studies Initiative has been around since 2016. And in 2021, the school board unanimously passed this requirement for the class of 2025. But at the state level, the Minnesota law signed by Governor Tim Walz in 2023 requires districts to offer ethnic studies at the high school level, starting with the 2026-2027 school year, and in the elementary and middle school levels by the 2027-2028 school year. So the Minnesota Department of Education has also been establishing their own ethnic studies curriculum materials, and they're working with districts to implement those across the state.
Yeah. Another disturbing story, Kendall, that we've been following here at the National News Desk is out of Northern Virginia in Arlington, where police say a transgender convicted sex offender and a biological male was allowed in a woman's locker room during school swim hours, and he exposed himself to some women and some girls. Now, the case, as you can imagine, has sparked outrage from parents who feel the school obviously failed to protect students, especially after it was revealed the same suspect emailed a school board member to complain about his treatment of all things, and was even met with a sympathetic ear. What does this case say about the priorities and policies of Arlington Public Schools in Northern Virginia?
Yeah, this case shows exactly what happens when districts put ideology before safety. Arlington policy lets anyone use restrooms or locker rooms based on gender identity. And at the time, Richard Cox, this 58-year-old man, was entering these facilities. They were not checking IDs against a sex offender registry. That failure in policy allowed this 58-year-old man to use the same facilities as prepubescent girls. Yeah. Even worse, when he reached out to the school board member to complain, that member responded, like you said, sympathetically, not with the victims, but with him, and expressed concern that he was facing potential quote unquote transphobic comments from staff, and that he should be able to use the showers and locker rooms that he feels most comfortable using.
Right. But I want to be clear, though.
It's important to note that Richard Cox allegedly went on to repeat this behavior 6 more times in Northern Virginia facilities.
Yeah. And I just want to be real clear about one thing. He's a biological man, and yes, he's transgender. He's also a convicted sex offender who was allowed to go in here and was the one complaining about his treatment. All right. Well, this is a case we've been following and will continue to follow through its course. All right. Defending Education investigative reporter Kendall Tietz, we appreciate you joining us so much this morning. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.